So let's do the drawing sheet now. So you've got your car body. Remember to do a drawing sheet, and you're no longer designing. So we can open the design, click the design button over here, and go into the different types of manipulation of your design. So a drawing from design, it kind of highlighted that in blue, thinking that's the one you want. Full assembly, I would say just select, because it's the whole thing. Just in case you have something else you've created on here, you don't necessarily want that other parts. So I always select the one that I want and then click OK. And then it does take a few seconds. My computer is newer and faster, so it probably take a little bit longer for your drawing sheet to pop up. That's understandable considering. So that's my front view. Now, remember, the front of the car is not the front view. The front view is the view that looks most like the object. This little rectangle with a hole cut in it, some might think that that looks most like the object. I would argue, though, that this probably looks most like the object because it gives you a sense of the larger dimensions. So I'm going to use this as my front view. But unlike other drawing sheets that we've done, I'm thinking ahead. I know I'm going to need a separate picture of the rear and the front cutouts because they're different sizes. So I'm going to place my front view here sort of in the center.
Mine has a different front view for some reason.
Right, and that's mine did too. And so you go over here where this menu is that has appearance and orientation. Orientation is where you can change it. That's what mine started out as. Right? Look at mine. That's what it started out as, and I changed it to top. So it flipped it for me. Now, it's a little bit small, if I'm being honest, because to fit dimensions on here, I think it's a little small. So I'm going to change the size ratio. Right now, it's 1:2. If I made it 1:3, it would be smaller. If I made it 1:4, it'd be smaller still. If I made it 1, it might be too big.
Do you think? I think 1 is fine.
Well, considering if I put 1 here, I'm going to need 1 up here and here. I've got to fit 3 sketches right here, or 3 pictures. So
1.5.
2 to 3 is a ratio that is bigger than 1:2. It's 2/3, right? So that's what I'm going to go with. 2 to 3 is my ratio. Then I place it sort of in the center of this left-hand side. I'm going to click OK. Now, I already can tell. I know what's going to happen, and I'm going to go back and fix it in a minute. But all these hidden lines are going to clutter my image. So I'm going to get rid of those in a minute, just a future reference. But I do realize that this cutout here that's indicated by this hidden line and then the cutout here are different sizes. So that tells me I need to create 2 different projections. So once we have our front view established, we're going to go up here to the second button under drawing, projected views. So click that button. And then click on your base view. And that's the one I just put down. So once I click on the base, it gives me these projections that will be tied to this front. So I'm going to click one there and I'm going to go down to the bottom and it flips it for me. I'm going to click there. So this bottom one is actually, and then, well, let me go ahead and set these. And then I'm going to come over here and click that one. And then I'm going to come here and click that one. Now those are pretty close together. Once you set them, right click OK. These are pretty close together. So that tells me I probably need to move this one down a little bit. Yeah, give them some room there. I can even move the isometric up just a hair. And then I'm gonna move this one down. So I'm just moving them around a little bit to give myself a little more room to do my dimensioning. And just to kind of make it look a little more symmetric. Okay, so let's clean some of this up. First things first, the isometric view gets shaded. You know how to do that. It's not shaded right now. We need to make it shaded. So I'm going to right click on it, edit view.
How do you add new bodies again? Well, how do you add like new figures or? Oh, yeah.
If you place the first one, you go up here and click the second button. It's projected views. Here, we'll do it one more time. I'll put my base in. Change my orientation to top. Change my scale. I decided to use 2/3. And so if you do, you could type in 2/3 for 2/3. And that would give you the same thing instead of a ratio.
It's not moving. Well,
Right click on it. There you go. So evidently, when this new software, you don't have to click on the object to edit. If you just right click anywhere on the sheet and click edit view, then you select the one that you want to edit. So once again, anywhere on the sheet, I right click, edit view, then select the isometric, and then change that to the style, the shaded style. And that applies the shaded coloring. So whatever color I've made the body, it'll give me that color. I didn't change the color, so it's just gray. Now, once again, I said earlier that all of these dotted lines are cluttering the image, making it a little harder to read. So I'm going to go through now and I'm going to get rid of them. I can choose a different style and get rid of these dotted lines. Number one, it'll clean up the image. Number two, I noticed in some of your stuff for the puzzle cube, some people were dimensioning to hidden lines, which violates one of those rules we learned about a few weeks ago, like a month and a half ago. So we don't want to dimension to a hidden line. So if I remove them from your view, maybe that'll keep you from dimensioning to it. So right click again, anywhere on the drawing sheet, edit view, and then choose this one. Remember, this one's connected to the others. So we'll choose that front view again. And then under style, we have this first style here does not have hidden lines. The second style does show hidden lines. The third style does sort of a shadowing effect. And then the fourth style, of course, is completely shaded. So I'm going to go with the first style and get rid of those hidden lines because they clutter up a complicated image. If it was a simple image, I might leave them. But this is not a simple image, or it's not going to be once we put all the dimensions. So now that I've gotten rid of those hidden lines, I click close, and now I can go back in and apply dimensions. So to apply dimensions, I'm going to go ahead and start with this I'm going to do the overall dimensions first, like we're supposed to do. So here's my overall dimensions. I click the dimension button with a little sunshine on there. And I'm just going, notice what it's trying to give me. It's trying to give me this. You see the little green rectangle there? Green square pops up. It's trying to say, oh, why don't you dimension from here? I want an overall dimension, which means I've got to go to the far left corner all the way to the far right corner to pull my full dimension. If I tried to just grab this line, and y'all do this, I've seen your work. Look what it gives me. It gave me 2.57. That is not the overall dimension. That is a lie. So we need to make sure it's a 2-click dimension, right? You're going to click on the left corner, click on the right corner, and then stamp it. Don't just try and grab the side and drag it out. Just to be on the safe side, click the 2 endpoints and then stamp it. Now, those are my overall dimensions, but we have a hole that's been cut out, so I need to also dimension that hole. So I'm going to click from this part of that hole to the outer edge to get a distance. I'm also going to get a total height, really it's a height of the hole. It'd be better if those were lined up with it next to each other for clarity purposes. I'm gonna jump over there. Anyway, doesn't want me to do it, so we'll leave it alone. So I have the location of this hole from the bottom of the part, or the front edge of the part, the wooden block. Then I have the width, or the height rather, of the cutout. So this number, this 0.62, that is my Y coordinate. I also need to know how far away it is from the edge, left and right. I need to find my X coordinate. So I can put it here, but better yet, we're going to slide that guy up and we're going to put it right underneath here. So dimension from this edge of the part to this edge of the hole. So what I've done is I've gotten a height, an X and a Y coordinate, but I do not have a width of the hole yet. So I need to put a width here. So I'm going to click from this part of the hole to this part of the hole and put that width. So we click this edge of the hole and the outside of the part. And then click the left edge of the hole and the right edge of the hole to pull the entire hole width. And we do not need this number here, correct? This number here is not missing. It doesn't need to be there because we can subtract 3.17 minus 0.6 minus 1.98. And that would be that number. Same way down here. I've got this number and this number. I do not need this one. If you have 3 measurements in a row, you need 2 of the 3 if you have an overall dimension. You should always have an overall dimension. And therefore, you don't need all the other, you don't need those extra measurements. So pretty much that's it for this front view. Oh, no, it's not. What did I forget? The fillet. Yeah, the radius of the fillet for these, right? Mm-hmm. So I might have to zoom in a little bit to grab that. And once again, I like to indicate that this radius goes for all 4. So I'm going to hit escape to get out of the mode, and I'm going to double click on the R.2 X4 for ×4. So that radius applies to these 4 fillets. That's the front view pretty much fully dimensioned. Now, the top and bottom views here are gonna look similar, but have some different numbers. So let's look real quick. Let's go ahead and do the bottom. What do I need? Looking at this diagram, what am I gonna need to make sure I inform the person building this of the cuts and of the treatments? What am I definitely going to need to tell the guys in the wood shop? Well, you can't tell depth on this. Well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Just looking at this picture, though, what are my features? So you're going to have the overall height that we do not have in the top view, right? We're going to have this. Well, okay, technically that's depth, right? So we're going to have that measurement. What? In the middle, the height. Okay, so this is a cutout, right? This is a hole that's been cut out. So we'll need this dimension. We'll need this dimension. You're going to need the radius of the internal fillets and the radius of the external fillets because it's 2 different numbers. We also need to know this hole, is it centered? We can't make that assumption, right? So we need to make a dimension here. How far is this hole away from the outer edge? And then here or here. We're going to do a section view that'll cut through all 3 at the same time. That's what the original document had. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So once we're done with these, we're actually going to replace that side view with a section view. But the idea is you wouldn't know that you need that until you have dimensioned all these things, and then you don't have hole depth. So the only way to see hole depth properly is through, because you can't dimension hidden lines. So the only way to do hole depth is through a section view, and we'll save that for the very last thing to do. All right, so let's apply all these fillet dimensions. Whoa. What about this? There's my number, the little letter I put on the side, and then there's the groove, right? So I'm gonna show you how to do a detail view as well, so you can zoom in, because really look how small that is in the grand scheme of things, right? We can zoom in on that, and we'll do a detail view with that as well. Let's get our basic stuff done, and then we'll do the more complicated stuff. All right, so let's dimension. We don't need the 3.17. We've already got that width, but we do need the height. And I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom here to here. And then we'll go ahead and do the height of the hole here. In an ideal world, these line up with each other. Okay, it wants me to do it. There we go. That's okay. Slide that back a little.
If you do it before you like place it and try and move it, it might go right on that. It's like stick to the side.
Yeah, so yeah. And then you hit escape and then you drag it to where you really want it. It may or may not let you snap. It just depends on where this first one's placed. Inventor used to have this thing where it knew how far out it was supposed to go. And so you drag and it would snap to a location and it would snap to the next location. Because if you did it by hand, you're supposed to have half an inch in between your layers, in between your levels. And so it would snap to those. I don't know that Fusion does that. But it's still useful. All right, so those are my heights. Overall height, really it's depth in the overall part. And then the vertical location of or size of the hole and the vertical location of the hole. So we have our Y coordinate and our height of the hole. Now we need to do the same thing with the X coordinate and the horizontal location. So let's do this from here to here. And then from here to here. Now we're going to need these fillets. So there's a radius of 0.3 for the outside fillets and a radius of 0.2 for the internal.
Wait, how are you giving the fillet dimensions? Because I've been clicking on it.
You're going to have to zoom in because at this distance, it's just going to grab a corner. You really have to zoom in on it to get the arc.
Wait, how do I do the fillets for the last drawing? Because I didn't get those.
Here.
Yeah.
Once again, you really have to zoom in to get to it.
Okay.
Because if you're too far out, it's not going to pick up the arc. It just picks up the endpoints.
How do I move the camera? Because it's not moving.
With a mouse. That's why I use a mouse. A mouse is so much easier. But there's the hand at the bottom. If you click on the hand at the bottom.
Yeah, tap that.
I know your generation, y'all's generation is very anti-mice, but sometimes, I mean, look, I got my left hand on the keyboard, my right hand on the mouse.
People actually call them mice now. No, I know, but like that's the first time I've heard somebody refer to keyboard mouses as mice.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to forget this though. I'm going to go back in here to where it's R is the 0.3 radius. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a ×4 again. Since there are 4 of them. So we got the fillets done. So we've done everything on this bottom. The only thing we didn't do is the groove and the height of the embossment. And that's okay because I'm gonna do that in a minute. I'm gonna add a detail view in a minute. All right, so now we're ready to do this other part. Same idea. So whatever we had down here, we should also have up top, with the exception of the external fillets. We don't have to label the external fillets again because they run the entire length of the part. So the external fillets, we don't need to dimension, but the internal ones we do. All right, so let's do this again. Let's go from this side to this side, and then from this side to here. And then we'll do the vertical. So that is the hole size and hole coordinates. I don't need the overall height because I did the overall height at the bottom, or I did the The 1.53 is located down at the bottom. I don't need that up top again. But the internal fillets, I do need to do the internal fillets again. So I'm zooming in. Stamp the dimension, hit escape, double click on the R.2 times 4. So those are our basic external and internal hole placement. Those are our basic dimensions. It's a lot, but you had 3 holes, 3 different holes you've cut out. So it makes sense that you're going to have a lot more dimensions because you've done a lot more to the block. Now, let's go ahead and do a detail view. No, you know what? Let's do the section view first. So this view over here, this side view, let's go ahead and replace that. So right click on that and delete it. We don't need that. So I deleted the side view. Now up top, we have our base, we have our projected views, and then we have this third button. And I'm gonna click there. That's my section view button. So for a section view, it's about slicing the object in half or in quarters, but we'll do halves. So this is the view I want to slice in half because this is the view that's going to show me all 3 holes. So imagine I take a saw and I cut right down the middle. I'll see half of the top hole, I'll see into the middle hole, and I'll see into the bottom hole if I did that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to click here. And notice it gives me an A with an arrow. And it's basically asking, where do I want to start my cut? I'm going to cut right here. And I'm going to cut all the way through the middle. And do try and make it vertical, like make sure it's straight up and down. It's 90 degrees. It snaps to 90. If you get off course, it'll snap to 90. So I've set where I'm going to cut the top and the bottom just outside the part itself. Then right click, continue. Now the biggest problem, the biggest problem with a section view is it gives you this big label, and that label is a pretty good distance away. So I'm gonna make escape and make sure I'm out of that mode. I'm gonna grab that label and I'm gonna move it off to the side. I don't want anything overlapping my title block. So I just grab that label for this section view and slid it over to the side. But it's this view that now allows you to see the depth of the 3 holes. And those diagonal lines, those are called section lines, and they indicate solid material. So all the diagonal lines are all the wood. And then the areas that don't have diagonal lines, those are your cutouts. So here's where we're going to dimension the depth. And all you need to do is dimension depth. You don't need to dimension anything else. So we're going to do from here to here as the depth of this hole. We'll do from here, zoom in here to here as the depth of this hole. They did have the same depth. Now this depth is not vertical because it's cut on, we cut it in a different place. So the depth is from this part of the hole to this part. So those are my depth dimensions. That's all I needed from this sectional view. And it's okay to replace the side view. You don't have to have the side view. It's more important to have the section view than a side view with no dimensions on it. And now finally, I'm gonna hit escape. And I'm going to grab this and slide this over just a little bit. They all should have slid over. I'm just trying to give myself plenty of room for what's going to go here is I'm going to put in my detail view. So here's how we zoom. First of all, we need to find out, do we want to zoom here? No, because this view doesn't show me the groove. This view shows me the groove and the letters. So I'm gonna zoom in here. I'm gonna take a detail view of this. I'm not sure if it'll grab a picture of the dimension or not. Let's find out. Right view, crazy. So here is, nope. Here it is. My detail view here has looks like a little circle. So here's what you're doing when you plant your detail view. You're saying wherever you click your mouse is the center of what you want to zoom in on. So where I click my mouse is the center point. Then I'm going to drag my mouse and it's going to include more and more and more, right? The circle is going to grow to see what I want to encompass. So if I click my mouse right here, and then I want to capture this whole part right here, capture all that. So I'm going to click my detail view. I'm going to click, it says select parent view, select parent view. So this is the parent view. And now I clicked here and I'm holding the mouse button down and I'm dragging it out so I can get the entire piece. There we go. And then there. And then here's where I'm going to plant it. Now, right now it's 1:1. That didn't increase my size any. My scale is the same. Where should I place? I'm going to place it up here in the middle. But my scale is the same. That's not helping me. I want to zoom in. So instead of 1:1, I'm going to do like 4:1 maybe. I'm going to do 6:1. I really want to zoom in on it good. And then click OK. So detail B, scale 6:1. So detail B means you can look somewhere on the drawing sheet and find the letter B. Somewhere on this drawing sheet, you'll have a letter B. And here it is. So this is the area that we're zooming in on. And this is what it looks like when we zoom in. I'll be honest, I wish I had kept more of this letter here. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back and redo it. I'm going to try, I haven't done the height of the letter, so I probably need to get the whole thing. Select my view, stamp it. I'm going to get the whole thing. Still, did it get the whole thing or not? Yeah, okay. Still going to place it up here and sort of in the middle of all this where it's some clearance. And I'm still going to make it 6:1. Look, okay. There we go. That's better. So what I did is I captured the entire height of the embossed letters. And then I also captured the groove. So I'm doing this. I'm making a detail view so that I can actually put dimensions on these small features. So I'm going to grab the dimension from here to here. I'm going to grab the dimension, the height dimension. I'm going to make a note. I'm going to make a note. So I'm going to put a text box here with an arrow. Leader note. Oh, it has to be a curved surface. I don't want to do that then. What do I want to do? Not a leader note. It's just automatic. Well, I'll come back and do that later. What I wanted to do is to leave a note here saying that this little rectangular cutout should start here at the end of this fillet. Maybe I don't need to do that. All right, let's dimension the letters that we did. Same distance there, but we also made it a height. And I don't know. Remember, I didn't really, I just put in a font size. I didn't really worry about placement that much because it's not really important necessarily. So I'm not going to worry about dimensioning the distance of this from the hole or from the groove, because that didn't really matter. If it mattered, the distance from the letter T to the groove, then I'd make sure I marked it. But if it doesn't really matter, then you don't have to mark it. But I did want to say how far out the embossment goes and then the height of the embossment. And I'm going to put a note on here. I'm going to put my text box and say embossment, so that I'm telling the viewer that's how I created this. I used the emboss tool. Okay. So that drawing sheet is now complete. I don't know, is it? Is there anything you see that I left off? I mean, it's possible I left something off. Or is there anything you have a question about? Why it is, where it is, or? You know, I don't like this placement here. That's going to be better. I don't generally like to do this, but it increases clarity, and therefore that should be the most important thing you think about. So I'm putting it here. All right. So don't forget, your name should already be on it and the date you created it. Car body, if that was the title of the part you used. If you don't have something here, then you can double click down here and edit this title sheet, the title block. You can edit that if you need to. So if you haven't done that, you can. So questions about this? All right, so save what you have right there. Car body drawing. This is the car body drawing. It automatically kind of knows what to save it as because A, you use the car body as the base for it. B, it is a drawing sheet. So car body drawing, save. That's not what you turn into me though. You have to go up here to the export PDF button. Export PDF. And then click OK. And it'll bring up a PDF. That's what you submit to me in Canvas.